You are listening to the On Purpose Podcast, your guide to living a more purposeful life. What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's show. We're coming to you from the wide open skies and the mountains of Wyoming. We've made our way back west from Florida for the winter, and nothing like summertime in the Rocky Mountains, I'll tell you that right now. If you haven't enjoyed it, there's a lot more to Rocky Mountains than sometimes people always think of Colorado. Sneak up into Wyoming, you'll get off the beaten path, far less crowds, and a little bit of peace of mind to yourself. Not that Colorado's bad, we've loved that too, we raised our kids there, but at this stage in life, Wyoming offers us a little more peace and quiet, so get out and try it a little bit. And thank you for being here, for allowing us to show up in your life each and every week. This week, we're excited to sit down with Amy Margolies, a cancer survivor and the CEO of Sunshine Theory, a coaching platform dedicated to helping cancer survivors rediscover strength, purpose, and joy after their battle. She was a successful leading digital advertiser at Google, and she faced her own life-altering battle with breast cancer. Her experience reshaped her mission, pushing her to create a space where survivors can embrace their post-traumatic growth and build a new vision for their future. And I came across that, and I've heard a lot about, people fighting back on cancer and how many people say it redefined their life. We had Josh Huber a few weeks ago now at this point sharing that same story, and I thought what a great follow-up to that is not just winning the battle with cancer, but what do we do afterwards? And I think so many of us, even if we're not fighting cancer, just battles in our lives, like we focus so hard on overcoming this battle or winning this thing that a lot of times once it's over, we're left with this void of what do I do next? How do I perform? What am I supposed to be doing? Who am I? So I'm excited to sit down and share this story with Amy with you all. And I want to thank you. Before we get to that, I want to thank you that have jumped over to YouTube and subscribed and shared our channel there, have followed us on Instagram to where you can see the shorter clips of the shows each and every week. And to thank you for helping us build our brand and our community with the goal in mind of not being the biggest, but being the most impactful podcast in the world. The one that puts smiles on people's faces, that gets them thinking differently, maybe gets them reminding of promises they left unanswered or things they're supposed to be doing, but maybe they just kind of lost their way. So I want to thank you for being part of that movement. Thank you for being part of our community. And I hope you enjoy this week's interview with Amy Margolies. Enjoy the show. Honor the Brave was founded by retired law enforcement officer Jeff Wolfgang and his wife Xana after Jeff was injured in the line of duty. It's their way of giving back to the first responder and military community through real estate. If you're a military or first responder, past or present, buying or selling a home, Honor the Brave connects you with trusted realtors nationwide and gives back through their Brave benefits. You receive an amount equivalent to 10% of your agent's commission as a thank you. An additional 5% goes to a charity you choose impacting first responders or military families, and you'll receive a handmade wooden flag honoring your service. Visit honorthebrave.com. We've got your six. Amy, my newest friend, welcome to the On Purpose Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here, and I got to start by asking, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I always start my day with a little bit of me time. So whether that's, taking a breath and taking my dog for a long walk, or if it's going to play tennis, which is one of my big passions, I always try to make sure I start my day with something that's going to fill me and set the mood for the day. So I am in a good mood.
I love it. So now you're playing tennis. So you're a traditionalist. You haven't converted to pickleball yet.
Well, this is how I look at it. I love tennis. Pickleball's fun for social. So one is my sport, one is fun social play.
Okay.
I do both.
So if I show up and I'm hanging out with pickleball Amy, we're going to laugh and have fun. But tennis Amy is going to try to beat me.
That's right. That's exactly right.
All right. Well,
but I will nail that overhead in pickleball too.
Oh yeah. You got to hit some people with the ball every now and then. That's the joy of it.
Yes, I mean, part of the sport.
So then, what does podcast Amy show up as?
So podcast Amy, you're gonna get both. You get the real Amy. I'm a mixed bag,
I love it. So I got to be watching out for that overhead slam. Make sure I don't get hit in the mouth.
No, I'm friendly.
I love it. Amy, I want to thank you for what you're doing. I want to thank you for for the battle you fought. And now two, for what you're doing to prepare people for life after their battles are won. And like I was sharing with you, what caught my eye about your story was I was thinking in life that so many of us have obstacles to overcome, big challenges, big hurdles, and we put so much energy and effort into it that a lot of times when we beat it, when we overcome it, we have this steep drop off of, wow, what's next? I put so much time
Yeah.
and energy and effort, I've kind of forgotten who I am. And
Yeah,
you're equipping people to begin again, that it's not the end of anything.
that's right. So I'll just start with a brief overview of my own journey and how I came to this insight of where we needed that second, you know, second boost of help. I always say there's two, what now moments for cancer survivors or anybody going through some sort of traumatic event, whether it's a divorce or losing a job, et cetera. I find with my clients, it's very, similar in terms of the experience physically, mentally. Obviously, it's different things, but the what the what now is, when I was first diagnosed with cancer, and this is most people, unless you have been through it with somebody else, but I was, what now? I'm diagnosed with cancer, and I don't even know what doctors to call. I don't know what treatment options. You just don't know anything. So that's a first scary moment. Is when you're first diagnosed, you kind of. I always say you don't know what you need to know until you need to know it.
Yeah.
Right. So all of a sudden now I'm learning about breast cancer and treatment options and what kind of doctors to see. Um, and when I was diagnosed, it was a month after finding out I was pregnant with my third child. So I had the added complexity of also having, working with a high risk obstetrician, seeing if we keep the baby. There were a lot of very heavy decisions that had to be made. Ultimately, I did find a oncologist who specialized in working with young pregnant women diagnosed with cancer, and she gave me that clarity, that breakthrough that I needed to move forward with my plan and treatment that was safe while pregnant, and then we did all the heavy stuff afterwards.
Let me
So
stop you
that was
there
my
for a
clarity
second,
moment.
Amy. Let me stop you there for a
Yes.
second. Because I want to get to the heavy stuff. But first, I like to warm you up. I don't like to just jump into it. We got to have a little rapid fire warm up so we get to know what you're
Let's
thinking.
do it.
You ready? And then
Yes.
just like you did there, you went out and sought help. You sought some different opinions, and then you got to the heavy stuff. We're gonna do that right now. You ready for this?
Let's go.
Amy, how about
I don't
this
know
one?
if I'm ready. Are you going to slam some overheads at me?
Let's do this one, Amy.
All right.
What's the best one-word description of you?
Positive.
Oh, I like that one. What makes you say that so quickly?
It's it's just the vibe that is always around me. It's what got me through treatment. Mindset is something that I work first with all my clients, like getting in the right mindset to open yourself up. But yeah, I like to see things in a positive way because otherwise you're going down the hill, you know?
Yeah, for sure. What's a favorite quote or a quote that stuck with you throughout life?
Oh gosh. Um, I now have to think. I don't want to mess it up because I do write this and I think about this a lot,
Yeah.
but it's actually an old Michael Jordan quote. Um, and it talks about kind of resilience and I love it. He says, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost more than 300 games. I've failed over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. I
Well,
love that one because again, it talks about resilience. It talks about not, you learn from everything that happens in your life. I never say look back and you never say would have, could have, should have. It's really take any of those moments. What do you learn and what's going to catapult you even higher.
Oh, I love it already, Amy. We're already on the right foot. Anybody that could quote Michael Jordan's a friend of mine.
Yes.
All right. All right. If your life had a theme song, what would your
Ooh,
song be?
girls just want to have fun. Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper. Boy, she hit
I'll
that
tell you, my
one.
mom and I, it's a memory from my childhood, and I do it with my daughter now. So it's kind of, that theme through life. We just get up and dance and laugh and smile. Like that's what life is, right?
Oh,
Like it
I
should
love
be
it.
fun. We live here. Why not have fun?
I that song is so goofy yet so catchy that I
It's so
wonder if
good.
she
You
had
just gotta
any
get up and dance.
right, like had any idea when she made it because that was like '84 or something. That was a while ago. That
Yeah.
it would survive like so long and still have an impact, like you're saying.
Yeah. It's a classic.
It is. All right. What's your favorite book or a book that you're currently reading? Either one's good.
Ooh. Well, I'm currently reading Outlive by Peter Ashia. I forget how to say his last name exactly. So you might want to. But it's called Outlive, and it really it's so interesting because it talks about training for your centennial, like you're moving into your hundreds, right? Like
mm,
the overall theme is when we move towards the end of our lives, most people expect to have a downward spiral of some sort, whether it's memory, it's physical, etc. And what he talks about is why should we expect the last 5, 10 years of our life to be where we can't pick up our grandkids, we can't walk upstairs, all of these things. And it's really training your body for those moments,
mm.
right? Like you should have just a rapid decline at the end. Maybe it's a week, maybe it's a month, but it shouldn't be 5, 10 years where you're debilitated. And it talks about all of the horsemen, right? Like the chronic diseases that are impacting America and the world so much right now. So I find that book very interesting. I read a lot of those books. Um, and yeah, I have other favorite books from historical, but I do like to read fiction.
Yeah. No, I love it. That's good. What's if you could have dinner with one person, they could have passed or still be with us. Amy, who would you want to have dinner with and what would you want to ask them?
Oh gosh, I've done these conversations at different tables
Nice.
during my career, and they're always intriguing. You have to give me a minute on this one. I have to think because this one changes depending on like where I am in my life.
I know, but
Um,
lob smashing Amy doesn't have this much time.
I know, I know. Um, I would probably say I always thought like maybe like someone really, really spiritual and
Mm.
like connected, like a Gandhi
Gandhi, Dalai
or
Lama.
yeah, someone like that is just so insightful. Um, because I think having those insights and sharing insights is so interesting and it gets me thinking a lot. Um, so I think those could be really interesting conversations.
Yeah, for sure. I think I love what you said there, and it reminds me of, I would say almost everybody that comes to this community, one trait we all have in common is we live curiously, and we're always intrigued
Love that.
to,
I love that.
right, to learn something new and have these conversations. So I am excited, Amy, to get to your conversation. If you feel warmed up now, are you ready to go on this?
I'm ready. This
Yeah,
is what I do all day, every day.
I love it. Amy, so talk to us about how your battle with cancer shifted your perspective on like success, happiness, and your own fulfillment.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a challenge, and I do work with a lot of women, like high performing career women who are going through these different challenges in life. And the reason I point that out is because I had been working at a, very high stress, high level career at Google when I was diagnosed with cancer. So I think that was really hard. And I think it's a big challenge for women who are so driven, especially in our society that we have now. I think, like modern society really kind of drives that, burnout almost in women where you're having this high pressure that you have to deal with. And for me to step away from that to deal with my cancer, I knew I had to take a leave from work. And that was really hard for me to go from, you know, pressure and like always driving and always action to actually having to like realize, okay, what does self-care mean? I need to turn inward and focus on myself. Like if I need to lay down on the couch for a day, don't feel guilty. Like that's what your body needs that day. You need rest. So it really kind of pivoted me to see the importance of those kind of moments. I always understood food and I always understood, exercise and those things that are still very, very important. But I think it was that pause. And instead of focusing outward, focusing inward was a big pivot and a big understanding.
What was there a moment where you realized that had been kind of a missing piece for you? Was that because it sounds I've been reading a lot and studying a lot, and we're really kind of shifting away from this hustle and grind culture that kind of
Yes.
permeated most of our working time, right? Like, don't
Yep.
take
It
breaks,
was
keep pushing.
expected.
Right, the busier you are, the better you are.
Correct.
Was there a moment when you realized, like, wait a second, I have to focus on me?
Yeah, it was. It was when I had to speak to my leaders at the time and tell them, I need to take a leave because I don't know how I'm feeling each day. I don't know, when I need to go into the hospital or not. So it was that conversation in that moment when I was like, okay, I'm doing this. Like I need to.
Yeah. How was that received?
It was received so well.
Oh, good.
I had incredible leaders at the time. One of my bosses at the time, actually, his wife also had gone through cancer, so he was very understanding from that side as well and helpful. Um, but yeah, it was a big shift for me. I always prioritized my team's, health and well-being, and I wasn't really focusing on me as much. Um, but yeah, it was that moment when I realized, okay, this is where we have to pivot.
And you mentioned something earlier I want to dive into. You had mentioned about women in the workplace specifically having difficulty coming to this decision.
Yeah.
Do you think that's different than if a guy has cancer at work from your experience and what you went through? Tell me, like, what would be different there?
I think it's hard to say
Yeah.
specifically because I think everybody deals with a diagnosis so differently. Some people are ready to talk about it right away. Some people can't deal with everything until years after. So I do think it's a very individualized thing. I don't want to say necessarily women to men. I know historically we have seen, more men in leadership roles, and
Yeah.
there definitely is that aspect. Um, and I do. I think sometimes women it could be harder. You're a little bit nervous, like if you're in line for the next job, or you could be nervous about saying, I need to take this time and realize it could mean, not as quick of a rise or a setback to your career.
Yeah.
And
And that's what I was wondering is if, like, if you felt, or and women in general might feel like, okay, if I take this time off, I may never get back to this level again, right? Or
right.
and did that factor into your decision making of like, if I step away, will I ever get to this point again, professionally?
Yeah. I've always been career driven and love, doing things that make an impact. I love seeing that. That's why I love my work today, which I pivoted to. But yeah, I mean, I it would have been a concern of mine, but I'll tell you honestly, like when I had to make that decision and when I was going through these much bigger life decisions,
Mhm.
I realized that life decisions are way, way, way more important than anything a career could give me. I was fighting for my life. I was fighting for my children's life. And that's what took priority.
Yeah, it's such a good shift in perspective, right?
Yeah, it is.
And
It really is.
did you find that that shift in perspective not just focused on your work, but opened up a whole bunch of other ways of looking at things?
Yeah, absolutely. It's what I work on like I said in the beginning, I work on mindset first with everybody. I think I have actually a program called Flipping the Script.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that all the time. I'm like, we have to flip the script. You have to flip the script on this. And it is. It's so simplistic, but it really is something that you need to do for it to become a habit, right? Like a lot of people are so quick to look at the negative side, or sometimes in culture, I don't know if you see this or feel this too, but I feel like almost like people, like you start a conversation and it's like complaining about things
Mm.
is the conversation. And it's not positive, it's like, oh, the weather sucks today, or, like, yeah, I had to do that, but it really was hard. It sucked, my car's broken again. You could talk about all those things, or you could just shift the way you talk. Sometimes even just putting a smile on your face
Mm-hmm.
changes the outcome of what you're going to say, what you're going to feel. So there are a lot of things around mindset. And like I said, I have a positive mindset, but it's how to teach other people that they too can look at things differently. And I know we talked about some books before, but one of my favorite books around this is it's the Happiness Formula. Have you by Mo Gawat? He was an ex Google
Mm.
employee, wrote this book, but it's really about how you can look at things differently.
I've not read. I've heard of it. I haven't read it. So,
Yeah.
how do you catch yourself then, Amy, when you wake up and you're like, okay, today's not like I just don't feel like. Some days you get up and it's easy. Other days you're like, okay, this is a work in progress here.
Yep.
How do you reframe things? How do you get yourself, allow yourself to one to have that space and a two to move past it?
Yeah. So the first thing you said is exactly what I do. I allow myself to feel it. Um, if I am tired one day and it's just kind of rainy and, that kind of thing, maybe I'll go for a walk in the rain or sit next to the rain. So instead of it being like gloomy and depressing, it's actually like refreshing and nice to be able to watch it or feel it. Um, but that's the important thing, right? Is giving yourself the space for it, but not sitting in it,
Mm.
right? You don't want to sit in that feeling for too long. Um, you do want to, it's not that you can't have any negative feelings, because we have to have different kinds of feelings and we're going to feel different. But the important thing is not sitting in it and then being able to, embrace and get out and move forward again. That's the important thing.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly there, and I was always thinking about that when I haven't always been the best at this for sure in my life, and when I denied how I felt, it
Right.
usually
Spirals.
it does, right? It becomes something way bigger. And like, man, if I'd have just dealt with this at the beginning, it'd been so much easier.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that too, right? Like we were talking about, the beginning of my journey and going through it, but I think that's the biggest thing that I saw coming out of my treatment was, you know, I had the baby and then was back on all the hard stuff again and got through that. And I remember the exact moment when you're asking about moments. This one is so clear to me. I remember sitting in my oncologist's office and she goes, "Okay, it's your last infusion today." And I looked at her and I was like, what's next?
Yeah.
That's the question. What's next? Like, you're so used to doctors and nurses telling you where to be, how you're going to feel. You get printouts on, this is how you're going to feel. And you have to be in here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You're always scheduled and getting through it. And then at the end, it just felt like, you're dropped. It's like,
Oh.
oh, yeah, I'm this new person. I just went through all of this treatment. And how do I come back into the world? And I felt, there was some support, but it was, there's a counselor who you can meet with maybe once a month or every once in a while, or it's with people who haven't been through it, and don't understand going through that kind of trauma. And I think, that's where I saw immediately. I was like, oh my gosh, there's this dropped feeling, and I don't feel support. And I immediately went and I signed up, and I got certified in functional medicine, and in nutrition, and all of this stuff. I just really just dove in, and I said, there's no support. I mean, there's so much confusion on what do I eat? What is going to cause, you're just anything to stop reoccurrence from happening, right? It's like you're scared. There's a fear.
Yeah.
So many people have coming out of it.
And I love and that's one of the things I love about you, Amy, and what attracted me to want to have this conversation is you see a problem, you don't just want to be the problem. You're like, wait, I can solve this.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
so talk me through that transition though, because I think you hit it on the head. A lot of us will get to that point where we do feel like whatever support we had, whatever we were fighting for is over. We're
Yeah.
no longer part of that team because we beat it, so we moved on and we don't know what the hell to do now. What is that void?
Right. Yeah.
Talk me through that emotional transition of picking yourself up and going, wait a second, I will take on this challenge.
Yeah. I think that is a part of me. I've always been a problem solver, right? In my career, it was one of, besides working with my team and mentoring and growing a team, which I love doing, but I also love to identify problems, and figure out there are better ways to do things, to streamline things, to make it more efficient. And I think I carry that same behavior over to this in life, right? So I knew I felt a gap, and I started reaching out to other cancer survivors, patients, that I knew. And I was like, hey, what are you doing afterwards, or how are you feeling? And just kind of checking in with different people and seeing, does everybody feel this? And it's a big gap. I started searching around for support, or how, like, personalized, right? Personalized to me, because everybody is bio unique. So it's, putting one blanket diet over everybody is never going to work. Putting a blanket theme over everybody is not going to work, right? So the importance for that individualized, personalized support was completely missing. So I knew that it was something I needed. I then, talking to others, it was something that they needed, and we kind of grew from there.
Yeah. Let's follow up. That was my next question I had for you is the importance of community when you are redefining yourself and beginning anew.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. What have you learned from your community, both about yourself and about them, and how we can better serve?
Yeah. So I think, just seeing consistently across the board that, yes, we are bio unique in our bodies, but emotionally, yes, there are different ways and different things, but everybody has gone through trauma. And going through trauma, there are, very similar themes that go across everybody. And I think that's what brings this community and the people that I surround myself with together. Supportive, incredibly supportive. Never judgment. There's no judgment. You are who you are, and I love you because you are you. And it's really, I would say I have, a diverse group of people, but there's certain characteristics to everybody. And I think that overall theme is just kindness, right? Is supporting and being kind to each other and letting people be who they are. I just see so much wonderful connections through that.
Isn't that interesting, right? Like it's through a battle for your life, and they battled
Right.
for their life, and now you find that actually people are very kind.
Yeah. And I think, you hear this often, but having lived through it, I can honestly tell you, when you are faced with a near-death experience, when you come out on the other side, prioritization of what's important in life completely changes. I always say, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
Yeah, yeah. It's a
All right, good.
podcast. We can do what we want.
All right, good, good. No, no family ratings. Um, but I always say it's, I just lost my track of thought.
You were going to cuss at me, so
That
I was
happens
getting ready to
too.
dodge that.
I know that happens too. Oh, it's all about giving less fucks
Yeah.
in life, and I truly believe that, like, before I let anything, like, sometimes stress me, or you know expectations, or people saying, do you have to do this and this, and it's not important right now, right? Like, I don't need that stress right now. We'll figure that out when it comes. And I prioritize my friendships, my connections, my people. I prioritize my family. You really do. You realize what matters, and like I said, giving less fucks. Like, okay, that's not important right now. I don't want to stress about that. That's ruining my energy. So it's learning what to say no to. And I also believe in saying yes to more. I
I
always
love
say
it.
yes to things, because there's so many times you're invited to something, and it's okay if you don't have the energy for real and you say no, but trying to say yes to more, like, you could sit on the couch and be home, or you could have this amazing experience and meet, like, new people, or find something you love to do. So I love saying yes to as much as I can.
All right. I want to know, what's one of the most surprising things you said yes to?
My husband? No, I'm just kidding.
You are way out of his league, right?
I'm out of here now. No, totally kidding. My husband's very supportive and great, but I think I'll tell you, we were looking for a move after my battle and everything. I just needed something new. Um, and to experience something new. That's what feeds me. And we did. We made an out of state move. We went from New Jersey to Florida. And, I said, yes, let's do this. There's so many reasons why not, but there's one big reason why. So I said, let's do this. Same thing with having our third child. Our other two were 7 and 10 at the time. We were almost out of it. And I said, let's do this.
Yeah.
So I think I always joke in some way. I'm like, when life is very calm, I tend to throw something into it to drive that chaos again.
Yeah.
But I think it's, again, just say yes. Like, let that chaos, figure your way through it. It builds resilience. It builds strength. It builds so much. Like, if you're not saying yes and experiencing these new things, how do you know? How are you going to grow? So that's how I live my life.
I love it. How has that changed your parenting?
I think it shows my kids, like, one thing I'll talk about, like, the move, right? Like, moving out of state. It was a little harder for my oldest. But since everybody's been here, like, everybody's embraced the change. I think they see me, you know, being a working mom and being able to do all these things and make a difference. I think it's I see myself as being a good role model for them. And I talk to my kids all the time. I said, you guys are so lucky today, because when people moved when we were younger, they moved. Unless your parents were super close, or there was some way you see them once a year, but they moved. I said, today you guys have FaceTime. You can talk to your friends all the time and hang out with them, and have friends here, and have friends in different countries. Like, it's a different world. It's way more connected. So I think, opening their eyes to seeing, what they have available to them and how they can stay connected is, really important, and something that they have really grasped to continue to grow your network with good people.
Yeah, and I sense you're very humble, Amy, and I appreciate that about you. But I would add that without knowing your kids, I would bet they see that their mom is fearless and that she takes things head on. And if mom can fight this battle and wake up the next day and say, hey, I through this battle, guess what? We're going to move and create more stuff for us to deal with. You're
Yeah.
teaching them to be fearless, right? And to
Yeah.
embrace uncertainty in life and that we don't have to have all the answers all the time. Like that's
Right.
one of the things in society now, we're over analytical and we've got all this information, but sometimes it paralyzes us because we don't act.
Absolutely.
Right? You don't have to have all the answers. You just got to go. And like you said, if you surround
Yes.
yourself with good people, you believe in yourself, you're going to end up in a great spot.
You're right. Yep. And often your network too, supporting each other, lifting each other up. It opens you to new opportunities, new connections. So yeah, I definitely agree with what you just said.
Well, I hope so because I was talking about you.
Yes.
And the other thing you do, Amy, right there is when you make that change, you create new circles.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. And one of the things that drives me crazy is when people are still stuck in believing and doing the exact same thing they've been doing for years with no room for growth.
Right. I agree. It's that stuck. It's that,
Mm-hmm.
and that's often where I'll see clients come to me after coming out of treatment or, some sort of trauma, come down, couple months, couple years later after. And that's exactly what it is. They're stuck. They're stuck. Don't know how to change. Don't know how to make something different. And it's this continual cycle. But like you said, if you keep doing the same things, you're going to be stuck. Nothing's going to move. Nothing's going to change unless you are the one making that happen.
Yeah. And what I love about what you're doing and people that do push that envelope a little bit is it opens up other people's eyes to what's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a lead by example,
For sure. So,
you know?
yeah. So let's talk about resilience, right? Because you speak a lot
Yeah.
about that in your post-traumatic growth.
Yes.
How do you define resilience, and then how do you practice that?
Yeah. Resilience is the ability to, move through challenges, hard challenges, and be able to come out, you know, stronger and better from learning from, those challenges. And you keep building on that and you become stronger, you become more knowledgeable. And that's just, the power of resilience is to be able to move through it. And, something that I was always told, my superpower was when, when I was working and, they'd say leading with, calm in the face of the storm, right? It's being able to take that challenge, not freak out and go crazy, but like say, okay, this is what's in front of me, this is how we're going to move through it, and then learning and being able to be one level higher the next time a challenge comes.
Mm.
So really understanding it's not crazy, it's just this is something that's in front of me today, or this is something that's in front of me now. Let's deal with it, right? That's the only way to move forward is to deal with it. So whether you deal with it and you're like stressed and crazy, or you can have some of that energy in you. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I have anxiety, I have fears, but it's how you deal with those. That's the important part.
Yeah. Too many people think that having fear is a bad thing. I think that I always shift. If having fear is a great thing, right? Because if
It pushes you.
it pushes you. It's going to make you make decisions. If I'm afraid, that means I usually care about something,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
It's hard to be afraid
Yeah,
of shit you don't care about. You'd be like, who
that's right.
cares?
That's what my husband always tells my son before going out, before a big match or, whatever sport he's doing. He's like, I'm nervous. He's like, okay, then you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
You're ready,
Yeah. No, that's
that adrenaline is something you need to go out there. Um, so yeah, embracing those moments.
yeah. So how do you say we're talking and I'm so afraid of what's next. I'm afraid to make this big decision, but it's pretty obvious to the people around me, but I just can't take action. How would you coach them through it? What steps would you say to be able to practice becoming more resilient and to believing in yourself that you can recreate yourself essentially?
Yeah. I think, the first step is really just identifying and understanding the healing through what that trauma
Mm,
was, right? Let's talk about it. Let's, you have to bring it into the open. I think before you were saying like so many people don't talk about things and they bury things and it becomes a bigger snowball, right?
mhm.
So we have to stop the snowball first. Let's heal through the trauma. And then, like I said, the number one thing that I work on first is the mindset. Mindset is so critical in everything moving forward. It's your motivation, it's your willingness to, then we move into, how to heal your body through different foods and the importance of strength training. But without that mindset, the motivation and the willing and the understanding of how to recreate yourself doesn't happen. So then we work on mindset, and it is about, those just simple things like flipping the script, how the brain works, the fight or flight when that comes up. So we really dive into mindset first, and that's what we would work on first, and then moving through, like I said, looking at individuals. This is like the super personalized part where it's what diet is going to help you.
Mm,
And this is where I really focus on chronic disease prevention,
yeah.
because that is the biggest problem that we have today in America, is these chronic diseases just catapulting. So really identifying strength training, and the right diet that is going to help prevent those chronic diseases. And then the final part that I focus on, and this is like the most rewarding part, is okay, now we have all that set. Now you're in a good space, you're in a healthy mindset. What's next? Where are
Yeah.
you going to grow to? And that's the fun part. Like people, I'm like, okay, this was your old life before. What didn't you like? What do you like? What
Mm,
makes you feel good? And that's the explosive part, right? Like I have seen people leave and just completely like pivot careers or make a move like we did. And just understanding that like you have the freedom to do that. You can make these things happen if we, just do it.
yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So that's essentially, the kind of the healing framework that we work through. I have mini courses that clients look at, like, sugar detox and just working on the mindset, but really like to deep dive and see that transformation, it's moving through all of those parts.
Mm, I love it. When did you realize that your journey needed to be shared? That your journey needed to
Yeah.
become the Sunshine Theory?
Yeah. It wasn't until after my treatment was done. So I I often found it overwhelming to talk about
Hmm.
constantly, my treatment, how I was feeling, what was going on. Um, I would share updates obviously with friends and family, but it was too overwhelming to understand what was happening until after my treatment. So so I finished my treatment in August of 2020. Um, Mind you, COVID, right?
Yeah.
We're in COVID era craziness. And I actually gave birth to my daughter in the beginning of April, right when the world shut down, and I was positive with COVID. So that was a whole nother thing. But it wasn't until I moved through all of my treatment at the end of August, it was that time around the holidays. I started thinking, I was like, I felt dropped. I was just sitting here, and that's when I took action. Like I said before, I took action, and I started these courses, and I started really deep dive, learning into the areas that I needed to go deeper into. And that's kind of what I did. I just really dove into it and wanted to learn as much as I could, to be able to help others, because I knew what it felt like, being left and lost. And I wanted to help others. Like, you shouldn't feel that way when you have just survived this, you just fought this incredible battle, and you shouldn't have fought that incredible battle to return to a life that doesn't make you happy. And that's the biggest thing. It's writing your next chapter. You get to write it. How would you write your story if it, to make you happy, to make you grow, to keep you excited, and thriving? Like, those are really the important things, because that's what you fought for.
Yeah, no, Amy, you're saying that, and I'm thinking to our veteran community out there, because we're heavily involved in the veterans, and how many of them suffer kind of the same mental block, right? They come home from fighting for their country and fighting a war to a world that doesn't make sense to them, and that they struggle to relate back to. And I think you're right. A lot of times it's because we don't give ourselves permission to become new.
Right. You come back, it's a different life. The world has moved on. Things have changed. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
And you're
Like I said, I think the trauma across the board, there's differences, of course, and there's uniqueness, but when you look at the whole thing, it's the same feelings.
for
It's the
sure.
same path that you need to go through for change.
And I think one of the best things we can do is have conversations about it.
Yeah, I agree. I say, like, look at when we grew up, right? Nobody talked about depression, anxiety, all these different feelings that people have. And it is positive that it has become more of a mainstream topic, for sure. But I agree, we need more and more voices out there talking about the reality of this. It's something I see in, like, comments that come back on some of the posts I do on Instagram. They're like, wow, you hit the nail on the head. Oh, I never knew anybody else felt like this. It's just like, okay, I'm not weird, or I'm not like feeling anything. That is a normal thing. You're allowed to feel that. And yeah, I think the more people talking, it's so critical.
One of the things I always try to keep people from doing is getting in this trauma comparison, right? Where,
Yes.
well, I can't speak out because I didn't battle cancer, so I can only listen to Amy. I don't have a voice. But no, all of us have gone through something,
Yes.
right? And we don't
I
have to be
just had this
comparing.
conversation yesterday.
Really, how'd it go?
So it went well, because I was able to show the person. So we're talking about, they were complaining, they had just gone through a stroke and a heart attack, right? Like, that's pretty serious too. And they're like, oh, I'm feeling this way, but I shouldn't complain because you went through cancer and pregnancy and everything. And I stopped them right there and I said, that doesn't matter. I said, your trauma is your trauma. I said, it doesn't matter how I felt. Let's talk about you. This is what you felt, and these are real feelings you felt. So let's talk about that. It's not a comparison. I hate that too.
Yeah. That whole comparison is the thief of joy, right? And it's not just comparing ourselves to what people have, but sometimes we're comparing ourselves to what people have gone through and minimizing our own emotions and
Right. Or expectations of how you should be, right? Like, it's comparison. We both had a problem with that word. It's a tough one.
it's because I'm dodging that lob. I know it's coming at me here in a minute.
Yeah, it's that, and it's trying to live up to other people's expectations. All of that, wipe it out.
For
You do
sure.
you, and do what feels good to you, and that's it.
So true, Amy. I love it, because here's the reality is we're all unique. Every one of us. And if you don't step into your uniqueness, the world will lose out on it when you go away.
That's right. That's right. You're here for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And yeah,
And the goal isn't
It's
to get to the end and have it all stored up. It's to get to the end and go, man, I gave it all away.
yeah. Yeah.
So, Amy, answer this for me. How would you suggest or tips, practical tips for people that are struggling maybe to find a purpose after winning their battle? What are some things you'd recommend to help build confidence and find direction in life again?
Yeah. I think confidence comes from doing. You have to do
Yeah.
to build up your confidence. So that's the first thing there. And I think, finding purpose is sitting down. Sometimes I think of like this Venn diagram, right? It's what people say you're good at, what you enjoy doing, and where there's a need, right? Right in that
Yep.
center is, where your purpose lies. And it's journaling. We do it through journaling, through mindfulness, through prompt questions, and work through that to find what excites you. It's often a gut feeling too, right? I say listen to your gut. Like, people will come to me and they're like, I'm really excited for a job, for instance. I'm
Mhm.
really excited about this job, but I'm not sure if I should do this. And I'll tell them, I'll say, okay, tell me about each option that you have. And this could be for anything. Talk to me about each option. And I can hear it in their voice. They're like, oh my gosh, it's growing and it's so fun, and you can do this and this, but I think I should really stay at my job because it's more money and da-da. I said, go for the new one. You're more excited. Go for the new one.
Yeah. Ah,
Sometimes you just have to talk it out and
yeah.
listen to what your body's feeling, because
I,
the gut tells you a lot.
it does. If we just listen to it and quit trying to overrun it with our ridiculous
Or
self-preservation and
analyzing.
mind.
Self-preservation. That's right.
Yeah.
Totally.
I love what you said there, Amy, that confidence comes from doing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't come from reading more, analyzing more, gathering more data. It comes from doing, getting out there, falling down, scraping
That's
your
right.
knees, throwing some Band-Aids on, and getting going again.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Amy, it's so awesome to get to talk to you. I'm glad it worked out. I know we had some logistics earlier in the year, but this is right where you're supposed to be. And I want to thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for your voice and your courage in sharing your story to impact others. And where can our community follow along and become part of your network?
Absolutely. So, most active on Instagram, handle at sunshine.theory. Website is sunshinetheory.com, where you can find most of the information, and also on LinkedIn, because I do work with corporations in some of the mindset and nutritional work too. So you can also find me on LinkedIn, Sunshine Theory. And right now too, where we have two mini programs that are that we're launching for the summer, as well as deep transformative work.
Sure.
So
And
all of that's on my website. You can read
awesome.
through.
Awesome. Amy, thank you so much. We appreciate what you're doing for the world, and keep it up, my friend.
Same to you. You're given a even wider voice. So thank you.
And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.